Okay. Well, we're going to go on, and if we have to, I'll be happy to send you, what we do. So, a couple things as we get started. First, do you both see the schedule for the rest of the semester on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we've got 13 days left. I'm going to ask a question right now. I probably shouldn't even ask it, but you're both coming back in fall, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I have been told nothing. You should have gotten an email from Don Pohl, who is the president of Rankin. From what I hear, they're kind of looking at June 1st as being a magic date in that they're pushing the beginning of all summer classes to June 1st. Now, the program that I teach in, the one that you're in, we don't offer summer classes just because of the fact that I'm the only instructor. Plus, with the numbers that we've had being so low, if we offered a class in summer, that would be taking away from the thing in fall. So the point is, the plan right now is for us to be back in the classroom. All right. I have no idea exactly when that's going to be, how that's going to work, etc. So we'll have to see. All right. We will finish up whatever we're working on with the project this week. We're going to concentrate on the insert stuff today. We will concentrate on the update stuff tomorrow. We will concentrate on the delete stuff on Wednesday. And then we're going to see where we are, and if we're way ahead, fine. And if we're behind or whatever, there's still some time built in. As you can see, next week I built in some time for us to go over link. There won't really be a project, but we're going to see if we can add some link functionality to what we're working on now. And then a week from Friday, as mentioned, and maybe we'll even do it earlier. Again, we'll just play it by ear, as they say. We will have a MobiRise demo. The last week of class, so 2 weeks from now, what I'll do is I'll just, say good morning to you, basically, ask if there's any questions, and then, for lack of better words, just kind of let you go. All right. And that portfolio plus everything that, anything else that we do as a class will be due by no later than the end of the day on the 6th. I think I've told you this before, but in case I haven't, I have to have grades in Thursday the 7th. They've got to be in by noon. Plus, there's all this other stuff that we have to turn in as instructors, where they basically they give us a bunch of criteria and they say, it's called SOA, Student Outcome Assessment, and they say, how many students did you have, how many of them did this, how many of them did that, etc. Well, my numbers in your class are going to be skewed just because of the fact there's still technically 4 of you in here, and there's really 2 of you doing things. They always shoot for a minimum of 75%, but when you've got 2 people who haven't been around for about, X number of weeks, it's very hard to meet that criteria. All right. So again, project this week. All right. I'm going to stop the share because I wanted to show you one other thing. So I'm going to stop the share and start it again. Now, hopefully what you see up on your screen right now is the schema for the database that we created last week. I did want to mention, though, if you look, if I quickly whip through here, every single table that we have, order details, order, products, customers, and categories, every single one of those tables has a primary key that's 1 or more fields, and you should know by now, primary keys cannot be null. All right. But when you look in here, according to what we have here, every other field can be null. All right. Now, that said, to me, if we put a new customer in the database and have a primary key and nothing else, that's beyond foolish. That's just stupid. So what we are going to do when we go and we do our inserts is we're going to pretend, for lack of better words, we are going to pretend that every field that's in here is mandatory. All right. And again, the reason for doing that is if you're going to enter data into a database, you want to enter it in and capture it at the beginning. Excuse me. But so we're going to assume that you have to put in a first name, a last name, an address, city, state, zip, area code, and phone number. All right. Again, we are just assuming that, even though it goes against what our actual requirements say. All right. So one more thing that I wanted to show you, and then we are going to get started. I'm going to again stop my run or my share and start it again. And I'm going to show you something. I don't mind, for lack of better words, kind of making fun of myself because I'd never tried this before. But I was thinking about this yesterday, and we now have, I don't even know what it is. What is it? It's 15, 20, I think there's 21 forms right now in our project. And that's pretty darn big. And when we start sitting there and saying, you know, you don't have a address, and we give them a message box, and then we go to categories and we say you didn't put in a category description, and we have a message box, etc. I started thinking to myself, there must be a way that we can create a method and have that particular method, for lack of better words, be global. And what I'm saying is this: if what I just said didn't make sense, take a look at what I did yesterday. This is not your project, all right? But it's got two buttons on it. If I click on the first button, what it's doing is it says, this is a test from Form 1. All right, fine. And I close. Now I can go to the second form and I can click, and I'm running the same routine. All right, so in other words, what I'm telling you is I created a separate routine, all right? And in that separate routine, let's see if I can find it here. I just called it helper. And all I did was I put in this. So I've got one generic routine I'm going to be able to call right now, that anytime there is an error, I will pass in basically the field that's missing or whatever, and a title that I want to put in on it. But everything else will automatically be put in there for me. Now, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but to me, having one kind of focal point, one place that we can go and put something, to me is fantastic. All right. And two things about doing this. And we're going to do this in our own program in just a minute. In fact, I'm going to copy the code. I'm going to give it to you. All right. But two things. First is, when we create this, make it public so it's shareable. But the other thing is, make it static. All right. So there's only one of them that's being shared. Not only that, when we go and write the code in our particular routines, notice that when we call this show message box, we've got to use the name of the class dot show message box. All right. So I don't know if that made sense to you or not. Hopefully, as we go on in here, it's going to make more and more sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again stop this share, and I'm going to start up the share, hopefully in just a second, with our final project. So if you don't have your final project up and running, please bring it up right now. All right. There it is. Share. All right. So again, as I mentioned, and Angie, I know you got back to me. Keegan, you didn't, which is okay. But I did send you guys the stuff out there. So right now, I'm just going to show you how this runs. All right. So again, if we click on any of these, it shows us the first X number of records. But if I go here now, I can insert a customer. I can update a customer. I can delete a customer. All right. If I go here, I can insert an order, I can update an order, I can delete an order. I'm not going to go through the other three. You get the idea. But to my knowledge now, all of these work. So we have one form here. That would make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each one of these has 3 forms. So 6 plus 15 is 21. And again, there might never be a time on this form or on any of these 5 forms that we ever need to bring up a message box. But if for some reason we do, we are now going to be able to handle that. So what I would like you to do, please, hopefully, again, you've got this up. I'd like you to right mouse click on your project, choose add, go down to the very bottom. We've done this before, and choose class. And I just called mine helper. It's not that it has to be called helper, but it is a helper class. So I'm calling it helper with a big H, helper.cs. And then when we come in here, I'm just going to do 2 things. First, I'm going to put the word public in here. And then I'm going to go and put in that particular, and don't worry, I'll get the error out of there. It's a using statement that's not there. All right. So if I put my mouse here, it says, come on, you need the using system Windows forms. Boom. All right. Can you guys please put that onto your, create the class and put that in there. Again, make sure you make it public, and then just add that to it. And I'll give you a minute to do that.
My Visual Studio is making me download some stuff. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, so I'm probably just going to have to sit here and follow along.
Okay, well, the other thing, if you want to, Keegan, you can bring up Notepad++ or something and just copy this in too.
Okay.
Then when you're done, you can just copy it over,
Yeah.
And maybe make a comment there, say add a new class called helper, but then just take this right here. And again, now remember, we made it public, we made it static. But when we want to call it, we will say the name of the class, which is helper dot show message box. So we're able to call that now from any, or we should be able to, from any of our 21 forms if we want to do that. So if you guys just let me know when you're done with this, okay? Are you both still putting it in, or did you get a chance to finish?
No, I'm good.
Angie?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. So since I haven't done it in a bit, file, save all, and then I can just close this class, at least for now. All right. So the first thing that, like I said, we're going to concentrate today. My plan is to concentrate today on the inserts. All right. So I'm going to open up form, insert, customer. I'm going to open up form, insert, customer. This one right here. All right. And as you can see, when we insert this, there is 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, there's 6 pieces of data. All right, because we're putting in both. All right, we are putting in both the area code and the phone number. All right, We could break that up if we wanted to into two fields. Maybe we will. I don't know. But again, we're going to assume that you have to put in a first name, you have to put in a last name, you have to put in an address, and the same kind of thing here. Do we break this up into three fields? That kind of an idea. It might be a good idea to do that. All right. Now, we don't have to put everything we do is going to be in here in the insert. The going back to customer, we already did that. So that's no big thing. All right. So everything that we have to do here is going to be put in here. Does that make sense to both of you?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, some of it'll be easy, some of it'll be harder. I'll tell you what, let's put in these first three fields and then we'll think about what we want to do after that. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to eventually want to put in technically at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. And maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fields. All right. Just to be sure, I'm going to create variables for each one of those. All right. What does that mean? I'm going to create a string for the first name, and I'm going to set it equal to nothing. I'm going to do a string for the last name, and I'm going to set it equal to nothing. I'm going to do a string for the address. You see where I'm going here. Now, one thing you may or may not have noticed when I'm doing this is I'm making everything a string. And the reason I'm making everything a string is, we want to be able to put it inside of our form right here. And those go in as strings. Now, what we want to make sure that we do is when we actually pull it out and send it to the database, first name, last name, address, city, state. I don't remember about zip. Let's double check on zip. So let me quick look. So first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, every one of those and the phone number, those are already set up as strings. All right. The only thing that's the weird one, so to speak, is the area code. All right. So we will have to worry about that one. But the other thing that I'm going to put in here, and you've done this quite a few times. All right. So what do I mean? Well, we'll set it equal to true. All right. And again, you've seen this kind of thing before, but what we're going to do from our insert routine is we're going to start calling other routines because we want to go and make sure that everything that's in here is valid. So in other words, I've got all those routines. So let's see. I'm trying to think because there's different ways that we can do this. We want to basically say this, keep going. All right, equals validate, first name. All right, and I think we've got our choice. We can either pass in first name. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it. All right, now we're getting that error because we haven't written that yet. So since it's a Boolean, it'll be private bool validate first name string, and we can call it whatever we want. So we've got that. We're getting that error because we're not returning anything yet. Let's just for right now say return true. All right, now all of our errors are gone. What I want to know, all right, because I guess I'm kind of tired of taking things for granted. I think both of you are doing really well in here, and I think both of you get it. But I do just want to make sure that you understand that what we're doing is we're saying, okay, pass a copy of this. All right, right now there's nothing in there. We didn't want to say first name equals validate first name because we want to use our Boolean because we want to know whether or not we should keep going. So in other words, all we're going to say in here is if fn equal, and we can either, remember, we can either do this or we can say string dot empty. I think we can even trim that. All right. So if that's the case, what do we want to do? Well, we want to call that helper dot, notice it sees it right here, show message box. And if we put our parens in, it's even going to tell us that we need to pass 2 strings. All right. So we will just come in here and say first name cannot be empty. Move this over a little bit. First name empty. And that's all we need in there. And we will return false. We've written this routine enough. I'm asking you both this question. Does everything we're doing in there make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Again, I don't care if you put double quote, but to say string.empty.trim is a little clean. It looks a little cleaner to me. All right. So if it is empty, we're going to show them the message box and we're just going to return false. Otherwise, we know there's something in there. Now, there's all sorts of, we could make this program 2,000 lines long. We're not going to, but we could, and we could come in and we could check to make sure there's only letters in there in the first name. We could make, there's all sorts of things that we could check on. All right. And right now, the first name is actually set up, just in case you don't remember, I'm going to quickly check, that it's up to 25 characters. We could check to make sure that if it's 25 characters, we would truncate it right there. There's a lot of stuff that we could do, but we're not doing it just because of the fact that, if we were doing this for the entire semester and it was the beginning of the semester, and I was trying to teach you this, and I said, we're going to write a 10,000 line program, then maybe we do that. And we try, I call that idiot proofing your code. And literally it just means so that any idiot can run the program. All right. But, there comes a time where we don't have enough time to do all this. All right. So I'm going to jump back here now. And I've got keep going equals validate first name. All right. And then I'm going to say if keep going, meaning if it returned true, then I'm going to say keep going equal validate last name. And again, I'll get an error because we haven't written validate last name yet. All right. Now, else return. Okay. Do you both understand everything we're doing in there? Because we're just going to follow that down. Address, city, state, zip, etc. Does that make sense to both of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So to make it a little bit easier, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to grab this whole routine, copy it to the clipboard, paste it in, change it to last, make that LN, and that LN, and then this to last, and then this to last. All right. Now I'm not, I can, if you need me to move or to show you anything or whatever, I can do that. But I want to save this and try it. And I'm just going to go to my customer form and I'm going to go to insert. All right, when I click insert now, first name cannot be empty. Oh, I probably should also set the focus there, so I'll do that in a second. So I put in something. Last name cannot be empty. I should set the focus there too. All right, so it appears at least as though right now it's working. So the other thing is I want to come in here before I return false. I want to say the name of the text box first name dot focus. And I also want to say for the other one, text box last name dot focus. Let me stop the run. That's why I'm getting that purple underline. So what I'm telling you is, do you have that? And you said that makes sense to both of you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have that? And Keegan, I'm sorry. If you want, I'll be happy to send this to you when we get all done today.
Yeah,
All right?
that's fine.
All right. So there's validate first name. There's validate last name. All right. It might not be a bad time now. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to. That is, I'm going to go back to my customer form here. I'm going to click on each one of these fields. And I want to look in here. Again, you can do this, but you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to the font property and I want to see what it's set to right now. And it's set to 8. Well, that ain't good. So I'm going to make it about 16, bold, Arial. That looks better. And also, you don't have to do this again, but text align, I'm just going to set it to center. Now, maybe when I get done and run this, maybe it'll look better left align. I can always change it back. All right, so I've got all that. But the difference is now, I don't know if you agree, but it was kind of hard to read before. That's a little bit easier to read. All right, okay. All right, so we've got those first two are done then. And as you can probably guess, I'm just going to continue on. So the next thing I'm going to do is validate the street address. All right, so we've got first name, last name. You can see they're not great, or they don't have the squigglies anymore. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. So validate address. And what was that called? Just address, okay. Again, I'm getting the error because I haven't written it. You know that already. And again, there's all sorts of things that we could check on for an address. I mean, an address has certain characteristics, and I think you know that. So we could check for that kind of stuff if we wanted to. All right. I'm just going to call that ADDR. This could even be a lot worse. You know, again, like I said, right now, if somebody puts in 123 for their first name, 246 for their last name, the system is going to accept it. All right. There's only a certain number of things that we can do. And you've got, you know, unless you are told otherwise, for lack of better words, you've kind of got to make an assumption that the person running the program just maybe is not an idiot. That's not always, believe it or not, a really good assumption to make. All right. So I'm sitting there while we're doing this and I'm thinking about it. And I've got city, state, zip. And what I am going to want to do, my 10-minute warning just came up. What I am going to want to do is I am going to want to concatenate them together. So I'm going to want to say city, comma, state, and then zip. All right. So we'll start on that. I'm going to see if I can do this as one field. So we're going to try to do all the validations. Now, we won't do them together, but we'll try to do the validations. All right. And I have no idea if it's going to work or not because I didn't do any of this in advance, and I didn't do any of it in advance rather on purpose. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to validate the city. So if keep going, validate city. And after we get done with this one, we're going to have to stop for a couple minutes, and I'm going to have to give you a new URL because, like I said, I'm down to about 7 or 8 minutes on this one. So I'm going to do the same thing here that we've been doing. Well, it doesn't like to text box city, so let's look at that. Oh, right now it's called text box city state zip. Yeah, I can put the focus there. That's okay. That'll be fine. All right. Again, I'm asking, and I don't want, I am a broken record. Is everything we've done so far make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do one more. I think we can get one more in before I run out of time. And this will be validate state. In fact, it just made me think of something. For now, I'm just going to leave it the way it is here. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to generate a new URL, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about this and see if there's a better way of writing this routine than the way we've just done it. All right. So, like I said, it's about 8:37. 8:45, we'll reconvene in about 7 or 8 minutes. That'll give me a chance. I like to have this thing. This works much better than Camtasia does. It basically immediately ports it into an MP4 file for me, and then I can throw that right into Camtasia. In Camtasia, I've got to go through 2 or 3 other steps. I really do kind of like this software for that reason. I don't like it because I only have 40 minutes. All right. So if you would please just, in fact, it says remaining meeting time. It says I've still got, if that's right, and I don't think it is. It says I've got 5 minutes. Just let's be sure. Come back at 8:45, please. Okay. So go ahead and drop off, and I'll see you in 7 or 8 minutes.